Hey there, and welcome inside this midweek edition of Big Ten Today, presented by Old National Bank. I'm Rick Pizzo. We'll talk Oregon, USC, UCLA, and Washington football with West Coast insider Yogi Roth coming up in just a bit. Plus, we have exclusive one-on-one interviews with some heavy hitters from the Big Ten newcomers. But we begin with some championship caliber basketball news and today's big story revealing the sites for the next 4 men's and women's Big Ten basketball tournaments. The women's tourney returns to Indianapolis for the next 2 years as Gainbridge Fieldhouse will host the 2025 women's tournament presented by TIAA, and they'll host again in 2026. Las Vegas is now in the mix with T-Mobile Arena, former site of the Pac-12 tourney, welcoming the Big Ten tournament for the first time ever in 2027, and then another first-time site for the women in 2028 when the tournament heads to Detroit. As for the men's tournament, Indianapolis has also been chosen to host twice over the next 4 years, though not in back-to-back seasons. Indy will be the site of the 2025 men's TIAA tourney and then return in 2027 with a trip back to the United Center here in Chicago between those dates in 2026. And 1 year after the women's tourney goes to Vegas, the men will get their first look at T-Mobile Arena in early March of 2028. For much more on all this news, welcome in Big Ten Network basketball analyst Andy Katz. Andy, I want to start with Indianapolis twice in the next 4 years. What does it say about how the Big Ten feels about Indianapolis as it's something of a home away from home for its basketball tournament to see it twice in the next 3 years?
Well, Rick, I think it makes a lot of sense. Obviously, it's been the home for the football championship. It's centrally located. You're almost sort of guaranteed that you're going to have, I feel like it's fan-proof is what I'm trying to say here, because not just Purdue and Indiana, but it's drivable for a lot of other schools. There may be a year, of course, where it could be Rutgers and Washington in football or basketball, but still, I think you're sort of locked in to a significant number of fans that we know through Final Fours and first and second rounds that it's a basketball state. They turn out for postseason games, even if one of their teams is not playing in that event. And Gainbridge has been a great home for Big Ten basketball over the years.
I think if you ask coaches, most of them would tell you Indianapolis, at least the current coaches would say Indy has been their favorite tournament venue. I think others say Chicago is a great spot, and Chicago does come in between in 26, kind of sandwiched around Indy in 25 and 27. What do you think about the tournament coming back to the city here in Chicago in the United Center?
Well, I've always been a fan of that. I mean, I think it's great to bring it to the Big Ten home. I'm a little spoiled. It's obviously our home with the Big Ten Network, and so it's easy for us. But it's always been a great venue. Again, easy to get to. That's sort of the one knock on Indy. Not always easy, great airport, by the way, but hard to fly into. Not a lot of direct flights from other parts of the country. In Chicago, that's not a problem for anywhere, whether you come from Seattle, LA, Portland, Newark, it doesn't matter. You can get to Chicago. So I think for fans, flying in, certainly Chicago is easier, and I think it's been a great venue for the event as well.
Yeah, probably no directs from Eugene to Indianapolis, but I'm guessing Oregon AD Rob Mullins well aware of that already. And, of course, the name that kind of jumps off the page in 2028, the tournament heads to Las Vegas. Andy, are we in a spot now with the addition of the West Coast schools that Big Ten fans should maybe get used to seeing Vegas once every 3 or 4 years in this tournament rotation?
Yeah, and I won't be surprised if at some point football goes there as well. Little different with the home of the Raiders, and can you squeeze that in? But T-Mobile was the home of the Pac-12 tournament. There is no more Pac-12 tournament. So this is an empty building at that time of the year in March. And for the schools that are coming into the Big Ten, obviously have played in the Pac-12 tournament. I felt like you had to at some point, take the tournament west. The big question, of course, is when that happens. And let's assume they're still playing that Sunday final. Those two teams, where do they go next? Are either one in that first four on a Tuesday or a Wednesday? Where are they going on Thursday or Friday? Look, these are good problems to have. If in 2028 you're in the championship game of the Big Ten tournament and you're in the NCAA tournament, even if you don't win it, and you got to have a short prep. That's kind of small violin, but I can hear the complaints already if it happens. But still, I feel like they had to go to Las Vegas at some point, and it makes sense in the back part of this rotation.
Yeah, certainly a good location and a popular location for Oregon, Washington, USC, and UCLA. I want to focus on those 4 teams. Now, Eric Musselman comes in first year with USC, same with Danny Sprinkle at Washington. But Dana Altman has built something, certainly, in Eugene. Mick Cronin has done wonderful things with UCLA. Can those 2 programs step into the Big Ten in year 1 and contend right away?
Yes. I will say 3 of those 4 coaches have some Big Ten roots or have coached in the Big Ten. Obviously, when Mick Cronin was at Louisville or Cincinnati, Eric Musselman's obviously his father, a former Minnesota coach. So he knows the Big Ten. Dana Altman was a coach at K-State, has coached in the Big Ten footprint. But I don't think there's any question that UCLA, with all their transfers and their returnees, there's no question they're going to be a contender in that top half, top third, I think, of the Big Ten. And the same with Oregon. Jackson Shellstead is a name we're going to be talking a lot about on the air. I know it was a summer league game, not a lot of defense, but he did score over 70 points. And I talked to Dana Altman, and he thinks that freshman to sophomore jump is going to be huge for Jackson Shellstead, and I think he's going to be one of the best players in the Big Ten this upcoming season. So I expect Oregon and UCLA to have a seamless transition, jump right in to near the top of the Big Ten.
All right, Andy, let's finish with this. I know a lot of fans from those 4 schools are really excited to come and look at some of the Big Ten venues. I know a lot of Big Ten fans have said, well, we can't wait to get out west and especially go see Pauley Pavilion. But you've been to all those home arenas for the 4 incoming schools, and you say that it's actually the arena up in Seattle that, when Washington is really good, has an atmosphere that everybody should go and enjoy. Tell me more.
Well, yeah, I mean, look, Pauley Pavilion is iconic. But in L.A., there's a lot of late-arriving fans, traffic and all that at Galen or Pauley. Matthew Knight Arena, again, it's really big. To me, I've been there. Alaska Airlines Arena used to be Heck Ed. In Seattle, when that place is rocking, when they have a good team, they're right on top of you. That purple and white, it kind of feels like this new Welsh Ryan. And obviously, it's been a great home court for Northwestern. It's intimate. It can be really loud, intimidating. I think if Washington gets going under Danny Sprinkle, that's going to become a very difficult road venue for teams in the Big Ten.
Now, a lot of people think that can happen. Danny Sprinkle, one of the hot young coaches in the college basketball coaching profession. Andy Katz, as always, dropping some great knowledge. We appreciate the time, AK.
All right, thanks, Rick.